Hey guys, what's going on? Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a segment called Subscribers Q&A or Sub Q&A, and I get a lot of different emails and PM messages about knife makers that need answers to certain things, and I don't always have the time to email everybody back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a video every now and then. I'm going to collect everybody's questions and I'm going to answer them all in one shot. This is going to be the first video of Subscribers Q&A, and I hope I answer a lot of questions. If you want to submit a question, submit it. You can PM me and put in the title subscription or subscriber Q&A or sub Q&A, and then ask your question. Try to be as detailed as possible. But as short as possible. I really can't do two-page letter on questions. I could try to answer as many as I can. And like I said, I'm a knife maker and I've been making knives for a couple of years. I don't know every single answer, but I will try to answer to the best of my ability. One of the questions I get all the time is why I don't do my own heat treating. Okay, so the first answer to that is, number one, I live in a city environment, whereas open fires, open pit fires, any types of forges, I am not allowed to have in my backyard, around my garage area, or anything like that. So it's based on where I live. I live in the city. I live in New York City, which is one of the strictest laws with any type of fire, open fire, or pits, or anything like that. We're not in a fire zone, but again, I can't forge my blades because the neighbors would have a fit if I'm outside with a hammer and anvil, waking them up early in the morning. So I can't forge, I can't do a lot of heat treat. Now they do have electric heat treat ovens that I am looking at. There's a couple of them that I like. However, most of them run on 220 amps. I don't have 220 amp service in my garage. That's another expense that I would have to put in. I don't mind putting it in, and they do have a 110 or 115 amp, whatever they call it, for regular household. Problem with that is amperature. Okay, I pay about $600 a month in utility bills. I'm going to say that again, $600, and that's on a fixed plan. If you live in a major metropolis or a major city, you're going to get killed with utility bills, with taxes and everything else. You make good money here in the city, but you also have to pay for it. And I am trying to limit the amount of electricity. Okay, so now the way it works is I make all my knife blanks. Okay, these are the knife blanks. I grind them all to at least this spot, leave enough meat on there, and then I send them over to Peter's Heat Treat. Peter's Heat Treat will heat treat 20 of my blades for $100. That's with shipping and everything else. Okay, I mean, they probably charge you priority shipping, so it's like $110 or $120, depending on what weight there is for that. All right, so that's how I do it, and that's why I do it. I don't have a lot of time to get into the heat treat process, although I know it's extremely important. I want to leave it up to a professional. Somebody that's I could send my knives out. Usually takes about 2 weeks, 1 week to get them, 1 week to ship them back, already completed. So when the blades are completed, I don't have to worry about it. The blades come back like this. All right, depending on the type of steel you get, these are all Rockwell heat treated to about 58 to 60. Done deal, don't have to worry about it. So if you guys are ever wondering why I send my blades out to heat treat, that is why. I don't have the facility for it. The electric is very expensive here, and I'd rather send them to a professional. That's somebody that can, get them out in relatively quick time. So that's the first question answered. The next one I usually get is, what type of equipment do I have? I'm just bring you around here for a little bit. Everybody asks me, what kind of grinder do I have? All right. I don't know if you can see that right there. All right, this is the KMG Beaumont Metalworks. I have the 10-inch wheel for hollow grinding, and I have the flat platen. It did come with a tool plate or tool rest, and this is the variable speed motor. This is pretty much everything that I use to grind all my steel, all my knives. The reason I use this is they've been in business for a while, and there are different types of grinders, but this one for me worked out the best. It was not cheap. I think I paid about $2,300 for it shipped, and it comes in pieces and you got to put it all together. The first grinder I ever purchased, other than the 1x30, is the Grizzly. Okay, this is the Grizzly model G1015. It is the Grizzly model. I've had it for a very long time, and what I mostly use this for is for the large flat platen or blades that are bigger. Obviously the platen on this, and you can see it's mostly set up for a flat type of style, and you can use the bottom wheel if you want to do some hollow grinding, but for me it works great. It does come with the plate or the tool rest up there if you wanted to use it, but I use a lot of that for flat grinding or, you know, long pieces. Alright, and then the newest piece of sanding gear that I got, this is my jet belt sander. That motor, I don't know if you can see that. Let me get some light over here. Again, this is a combination. I believe this is the 6x24, and then I have a 12-inch disc. Alright, this was expensive. This is not cheap. This is over $1,000, and it's very, very heavy. Okay, this piece base up here is all cast metal. I think it's cast iron or something like that, and the base was a steel piece that I had to put together. You don't have to buy the base, but if you are going to buy something this big, I highly suggest that you use it because it is heavy. It's over 200 pounds and has a lot of adjustable features, and what I use this for is all my flat surface grinding. So if you get a knife that's a little bit of warp, you can lay this down if you want, or you can use it straight up and down. Put it on there, it'll just straighten everything out in one shot, versus trying to use a 2-inch sander, which would take a very long time to do, and it's not always that accurate. Again, with the disc wheel, same thing. Once you turn this on, both wheels will start at once. Okay, so you have to be very careful. Don't have anything leaning up against that when you start that machine. So that's it for my sanders. This is something that you don't necessarily need, but if you want to get a flat surface ground, this is a really good piece of equipment to get. One of the other little sanding grinders that I use, this is mostly for choils. All right, this is the Grizzly oscillating spindle. Okay, again, another piece of gear that you don't necessarily have to have, but it's not that expensive. It's under $100. It comes with different drums, and what I use this for is any type of the handle material, or you know, inside the handle or anything like that. It just oscillates. You can buy this stuff straight from Grizzly, or you can buy it on Amazon.com. And lastly, this is just my drill press. Very, very cheap. You can buy these spindle drums pretty much in a kit anywhere. I use Super Grit to buy all my drums and sandals, and this actually helps. It doesn't oscillate, but when I want to do my fine grinding, inside the handle, it works very well. Just don't put too much pressure on it, because you are using a drill press as a sanding machine. That'll get you, you know, this is one of the first setups I had before the oscillating sander, and it works great. You can buy these kits. I think they come in like half-inch, quarter-inch, half-inch, 3/4, 1.5 and 2 inches. The drums, you could also, this is a 2-inch drum, you could also get 4-inch drums if you're interested, and that comes in a kit. You just throw it in your drill press, and it works very, very well. Alright guys, I'm just going to hit on a couple of the questions. I do get questions all the time. So Riley asks, I'm thinking about getting into knife making, but I'm not sure where to start. What does it usually cost to make one knife with some of your more basic, also watched, basic materials? Also watched a few of your videos and think you do a great job. I have more questions for you later on, but thank you in advance for your answers. Alright, what I'm going to say is, it really depends on the steel that you're going to use. It really depends on the materials. It depends on, you know, what type of electric you have in your house, or whatever the case may be. The way I kind of gauge it is, most of my knives that I make with my materials and my stuff usually cost me, with labor involved, about $160. Alright, so if I'm going to break even, I have to charge $160, and that means I make no money. Depending on the knife, depending on the size, you might have to charge more, you might have to charge less. And you might say, well, $160 seems like a lot. It is. If you charge $10 an hour for 10 hours, that's $100. So that means I'm charging $60 for material. That's heat treat, that's the material itself, that's the steel, that's the pins, that's the micarta, that's the kydex, that's everything, the belts, the electricity, everything else. $60 for the material and $100 for labor is extremely cheap. So if you're thinking, all right, well, that's not a big deal, you know, I can do that. It may take me 10 hours to make or for labor, but understand this happens over a course of weeks and months. It doesn't happen. I'm not sitting there for 10 hours. What I'm doing is I'm first grinding, I'm cutting the steel out with whatever tools I have. I'm making it into a shape. Then I'm going to grind the steel. Then I'm going to send it away, and it's going to take me 2 weeks to get it back from heat treat. Once I get it back from heat treat, I have to re-grind all that stuff off. As you can see, most of these blades come back pretty dirty. So you have to re-grind it. You have to straighten the knife out. Then you have to get the micarta and the handles and the pins and all that stuff. And then once all that's done and you cleaned it up and you think it's really good, then you have to make a sheath. You can't rush steel, guys. It's going to take a very long time. So once all that's done and finished and you finally have your knife and you're very happy with it, now you got to price it. Like I said, always charge, what I always charge is about, 30% on top of whatever it is. So if it's 160 plus 30%, that's what I sell it for. But think honestly about how long it takes, what your skill set is. You're looking at $160, maybe even more, depending on what your skill set is. So I hope I've answered the question. All right, another question from Sertango1. See, damaged knife blanks. Do you want to sell those damaged knife blanks where you were showing the tips in the video? No, I don't sell any of my blanks, and I think I've covered this before. I don't sell any of my blanks because I consider it property. I consider my name that's on top of the blanks my property. Okay, so if I was going to take this blank and it's not ground, or even if this one got messed up, I would not sell it, because anybody could buy this blank, regrind it, refix it, and sell it as is under their name, and that would be stealing. That's considered intellectual property, or property, I should say. It's not intellectual property, but it is copyright infringement. If you're taking a product from me and selling it as yours, you are breaking the law. Okay, so that's why I don't sell my blanks. I have guys ask me for specifics so they could try to make their own. Do not copy somebody else's work. Do not copy somebody else's work. Do not copy somebody else's work. That's all I'm going to say. Okay? Please don't do it. It's not worth it. You don't want to be known as the guy that copies somebody else's work. No one will do business with you. All right, this one's from Keith. High quality grip suggestion. Hi, I'm a huge fan of your work, and I'm interested and wondering if you thought about using ironwoods for any of your blade handles. Ironwood is very dense, and although it is hard to work with, it makes a very high quality knife, such as yours, more appealing to the ultimate survival knife. Market as much as blah, 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 blah. So basically, he's asking me about that. That's fine. I like hardwoods, don't get me wrong. I think hardwoods are great. They are a little bit different. You cannot force hardwood. So if, let's say, you're a little bit off on a drill hole, micarta you can usually, or G10, you could usually work around it, sand it out, put a little bit of glue on there, and you're good, and nobody will know the difference. With hardwoods, if you force it, you'll snap the hell out of it, break it, and then it's garbage. I like Cocobolo. I use Cocobolo scales all the time. I like hardwoods. But it is a different material to work with. Hardwoods on a survival knife I don't think is a good idea, because hardwoods will stretch unless it's properly treated, and it's more maintenance on it. So if you don't like taking care of your knives, or if you're building a knife that's mostly used for survival purposes, you don't want your handles to fail, especially if you put hardwoods in a swampy area or a cold area or a humid area. That wood will swell, shrink, and the glue could crack. So I think it's beautiful. A lot of the knives that I see that you put hardwoods on, they're beautiful. They're great for showpieces. They're good for granddads. But in a tough field environment, you're not going to get anything better than the composites. But again, I have used hardwoods and I will continue to do so. Alright, I got another question. I think it's from Keith. It says, let's see, basic tools. I've been very interested in knife making for as long as I can remember. I love all knives, but my heart is with a small fixed blades or bow songs. I really hope to be able to create my own, but it's outside my reach for the moment. I am still young, only 18, and can't afford a place with a garage. Alright, you know, that's kind of hard. If you're very young and you don't have a lot of tools, I mean, I was very fortunate and lucky when I was growing up. I was able to borrow my grandfather's tools or my dad's tools, okay? And when I say borrow, I mean you need to borrow, clean them up, and put them back where they were, because I used to get yelled at constantly. I'm not going to tell you what you should and shouldn't do. If you have someone like a granddad or a shed or something like that, it doesn't take a very large place to make knives. I've seen guys that use closets, a walk-in closets, as a knife making shop. You just got to pull all your electric in there. Now, I'm not saying you should do that. What I'm saying is you should sit down with your folks, with your parents, tell them what you want to do, make sure you're safe, make sure they're okay with it, and see where you can go from there. You don't have to buy a garage or a place. Just see if you can work out in your yard or your shed or anything like that. And of course, wear all safety precautions, all that good stuff. All right, here's another one from Basticular Cancer. Nice. It says, my question for you is, what are the bare essentials for knife making? Tools mostly, and if there are small alternative methods. I have a small area in the back that I'd like to work with, but I have to be able to bring everything inside when it's done. I have to wait. If I have to wait, so be it. But I'd love to know what absolutely I need to get started, along with that stuff to practice, make things easier, finally start. Thank you so much, Cheyenne. Or is that Cheney? I don't know, I might be wrong. Alright, so basically, the basic tools. Definitely, if you can, get yourself a vise, a good vise. They're not that expensive. You can get one of these that clips onto a table. All right, so you can see it right there. Any type of Nicholson file will work. You need a good set of couple files. If you want to go electric, you can get a 1x30 sander from Harbor Freight. They're about 30-40 bucks, and they take the really skinny belts. That's going to help you a lot longer. Sandpaper, you're going to need some type of sandpaper, and all the sand grits should be of some type of ceramic, or you can get the orange blaze or anything like that if you could afford it. But honestly, to make a knife, you don't need anything more than either a C-clamp or a vise to hold your work, some good files, a design. You can use a Sharpie to draw your design on there, and then you just start filing away until you get something that you like. I mean, it's not that hard. And again, you're going to see as hey, how do I cut the micarta? Well, you can get a bandsaw or you can get a handsaw. Doesn't really matter, just as long as you could afford what you can use. I almost approve a lot of knife makers that when they first start out, they use a hand file. Okay, why do you use a hand file? Well, you have to realize how much work this really involves. It does involve a lot of work. The belt sanders and the electric sanders are great because it speeds up the work tremendously. But if you don't have the money for that, go small. When I first started, I actually had one of the DeWalt, I think it's just a regular DeWalt sander, the ones you use for wood or sanding floors. I turned it upside down in a vise and I used that to grind my steel. It was ugly as sin, but it worked, and that's how you learn. The 1x30, very, very tiny sander. It's a grinder. You don't need to worry about it. You turn it around, flip it up, clamp it to a table. So basically, a couple good files, a good vise, safety, obviously, ears, eyes, gloves, respirator, all that stuff. Some sandpaper, some clamps, and draw a design on there and just go for it. See what you can get. Hope I answered that question. All right, another one from Backwoods America, Water Jet. Hey, was thinking about getting a water jet thing. What does it cost per knife to get them cut out? All right, basically, water jet. The way my water jet company, I use New Jersey Water Jet. The way it works is he charges me per inch, so it really depends. If you are going to do water jet, you're going to buy a plate of steel. You're no longer buying bar stock, so you should know that it's going to be a lot more expensive than buying a couple pieces of bar stock. A plate of $10.95 will probably run you about $215. Then they're probably going to charge you about $7 to $12 per knife, and you could probably get about 20 knives. So by the time you're done with all of that, sorry, I had to shut off the heat, it's hot in here. By the time you're done with all of that, if you were going to cut 20 knives at a $10.95, about a 1/4 inch thick, and you were going to get about 20-30 knives, you're looking at a $400 investment. Maybe even a little bit more, depending on what type of knife you want. The knives, the way it works is the longer the knife, the more expensive per knife. So this one right here, the Master Chief, might cost you $13 for the cut. This one might cost you $7 for the cut. So it really depends. Now, when I say cut, that means it's just cut with the water jet. That doesn't mean the plate of steel you have to buy to send over to the water jet. Okay, so I hope I answered that question. Okay, next one. Sexy Stalker 9. Okay, make any of your, hey sir, do you have any of your knives, or are there any tools or handle materials you could part with or recommend that are great to use, and what is the easiest way to put initial grinds on your knives? Also, do you have any extra old books I could have, and making that I really learned the way I've done so far. Alright, don't ask me for stuff, guys. I honestly, I think I responded to this guy already. I don't have extra of anything. Like I said, it's not that I'm trying to be rude. It's just that I get a lot of people asking for stuff, and you know, I would love to give as much stuff away as possible, but I constantly reference books. I constantly go back, I look on the internet. Knife making, you cannot be lazy. You constantly have to look up stuff. You have to go back to the books or to the internet or to wherever you go. Also, materials, I don't have extra. Everything extra that's scrapped is like nothing you can make out of. Okay, so I have piles of you know, little pieces of metal, steels, and stuff like that that I am going to use for maybe arrowheads or something like that. I don't think it's a good idea to ask knife makers for scraps. That's just my opinion. If you really want to be a knife maker, go buy a piece. You know, if you have $20 in your pocket, don't buy, you know, don't buy junk food. Go to the knife manufacturer and go buy a bar stock. I mean, really, it's not that hard. Let's see, easiest way to put together grinds. I have two videos, one the hollow grind and one the flat grind. I highly suggest, before you ask me any questions about grinding, go watch those two videos. They got something like 96,000 hits on them because they're good videos. They're great videos on how basic beginners can grind on the KMG. Alright, so go check it out. It says long shot. Back before you removed the other account, you had a video about prepping storage. In this video you showed a couple things. Let's see. I'm looking to build my own custom bed frame. Alright, so this has something to do with my other video. I used to have a prepping video. I since taken it down. I still do preps. I still consider myself a prepper slash survivalist. I love to live out in the woods and do what I gotta do and learn and bushcraft and all that other stuff. This channel is based on making knives, building knives, and selling knives. I love to teach, I love to show people how to do stuff, and I love to make blades. Blades is more about prepping tool than anything else. It's a fantastic hobby. You can make money doing it, and it gives me self-satisfaction and gratification to making the cutting tool. I love doing it. As far as the prepping goes, I took a lot of that stuff down because of doomsday preppers and because of a lot of other stuff that was going around in the community. I don't want to be labeled as a whack job or a survivalist or a knucklehead. So I appreciate all the guys that are out there that are doing it and still doing the videos, But this channel will not be about that. You will never see anything political across this channel. I am not about political or anything of that stuff. This channel is geared specific for the making, the showing of the making, and the selling of knives. Everything else is just not going to be shown up here. I was thinking of making another channel to complement this about some gear and some survival stuff, but I just haven't gotten on that, and I don't think I'm going to have enough time to do it. So I'm sorry about that. Let's see, this one's from Wallet Proof Fire Knife Making. I was wondering about hand making knives. Can you give me a small, simple explanation about heat treating? Do you really have to heat treat a knife? I have this scrap metal, and I was wondering if you can make a good knife without heat treating. Can I have a good knife without heat treating? The answer is no. You cannot have a good knife without heat treating. Heat treating is about 90% of the knife itself. You can have a piece of metal that cuts, but if it's not hardened, it will bend, or it will, it'll bend on you. It won't be considered a quote-unquote knife. What you're doing when you heat treat is you're taking a soft piece of steel like this, and you are hardening it, which means that you're taking the crystallines and you're tightening them, making them strong and hard and tight. And what that does is it hardens the steel. So if your steel is not hardened, it will not retain its edge, it will bend, it will flake, it just won't work. I've seen a video about a guy that said he went to Home Depot and picked up some blade steel. The stuff in Home Depot is mild steel. Mild steel is used to manufacture stuff. So it's for buildings, it's for cars, it's for anything else but knife making. If you don't have carbon inside of a steel, it will not harden properly, and it will not be considered a knife. Like I said, with the heat treating, I already covered that. I don't do it here. I send all my stuff off. If you have a piece of steel that you don't know what it is and it's scrap, chances are it's mild steel. It's something that welders or manufacturers or builders use inside buildings or any type of manufacturing. It is not knife steel. If you want knife steel, go to New Jersey Steel Baron, call them up, get a piece of knife steel for 12 inches and go nuts with it. They'll ship it right to your house. So I hope that. Alright, let's see, knife maker, grinder. Hey, Three River Blades, I have a question about grinding bevels. I have a Grizzly belt sander, and I was grinding a bevel, and I can never keep the blade on one angle. I am trying, I'm messing up blades. How can I fix this? Okay, again, like I said, the flat grinding video and the hollow grind video, you could find that on my homepage or whatever it is, the YouTube website. A lot of this stuff has to do with practice. If you don't practice, you are not going to be good at this. So please go ahead and practice as much as you can. Another way of doing it is jigs. There's a slew of videos about guys that create fixtures, or they use wooden jigs, or they use metal jigs to constantly get the same grind. And I think I've spoke about this before. If you're right hand dominant or left hand dominant, your arms, hands, fingers, eye coordination will press on one side harder than the other. So it's up to you as the maker to compensate that, physically, mentally compensate for that mess and try to refix it. You'll see on every knife maker that does not get his grinds, that grinds his own steels, it takes years of practice to be excellent. I mean, it really, really does. It is not easy to grind a knife. Just don't give up, all right? Try different things. Try to make a wood jig at first. If that doesn't work, try something else, okay? Eventually you'll get comfortable with the grinding and the jig and everything else, and you'll figure out how to grind. But it always takes practice. All right, let's see, one last one right here. It says, hey bud, this is from Backwoods America. Hey bud, just wanted to say thanks again for all the help in your videos. You truly are a huge help to me. Also wanted to ask, how do I go about setting up a website? Alright, basically the way it works is, if you are going to be a custom knife maker, you have to sell it somehow. You can go on the forums or everything else. What I usually do is, I've come from a computer background, so I know how to use certain website editing programs. It's not a big deal. And I have a hosting server. So it's not a big deal for me to upload. Now, for most people, that's not normal. What they'll do is just go to GoDaddy.com or one of these manufacturing, one of these web hosting companies, And for a couple bucks a month, you can set up a very, very cheap website, or you can even set up a free one if you had a blog like WordPress or Blogger or something like that. Then you set up a PayPal account, and then you can attach that code to your website, and that's how you sell blades online. It's not hard to do, but it is time consuming. If you have not registered your name, you could register it at GoDaddy or One-to-One or any of those web hosting companies, and right then and there they will ask you, do you want to build a website, and you can purchase it there too if you want. They also have services that they will build you, they will custom build you a website, but that's not cheap. Or if you have somebody that's in college, or that's a friend, or you just want to do Facebook or social media, that's a great way to sell knives. That's how I sell knives. I use my website in conjunction with social media, and it seems to work great. So again, thank you very much for watching this, guys. This is the subscriber Q&A for this month. I really appreciate all your comments and your questions. I hope to be doing this again in the future. If you do have questions and comments, if you do have questions on knife making or sales or anything like that that I have not covered in my videos, just do a simple PM me with the subject line subscriber Q&A, and I will try my best to answer all your questions. Thank you very much. Go up to 3riverblades.com. Thanks.